Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. As usual, any questions or observations? Please, yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullah.
So going back to last week at Islamabad, I asked you a question on my friend who came from Iran, and I have the pleasure to announce that I have brought him with me tonight, and he's sitting just
Most welcome.
in front of me, and I hope he has one or two questions
Yes,
he
please.
would like to ask
Yes,
you. His name is Bahram.
Bhaipan?
I think he'll be able to
Yes,
tell
please.
his name himself.
Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikum.
It's a little bit difficult for me.
Please speak into the microphone.
Yes, it's very difficult for me to talk. It's my first time being among you. I heard a lot about you through.
Would you kindly introduce yourself first?
Yes,
please?
my name is Bahram.
Bahram?
Yeah.
Yes, so you're from Iran?
Yes, I'm
Yes.
from Iran, and I just heard from your I read a few books and
In Persian or in English?
it's in English.
You haven't read any Persian book so far?
No.
No, not yet. Yes.
Not yet.
Right.
And
Which English books have you read?
which one was
The will.
the will and
And?
yeah, Jesus in India and your philosophy of
Right. Yes.
Islam. But I have got a very limited knowledge of the principle of Ahmadiyya.
Yes.
And before, about 2-3 years ago, I met people from Moonies, which they believe that the promised Messiah is came on earth.
The Moonies
That's right.
claim that he has come?
That's right. And that
I
was
don't
my
think so. I think Moonies don't claim he has come, but they announce that he's about to come. Is that not right?
No. Is actually the thing is, what is Reverend Moon himself?
Yes.
For the other brothers, perhaps not been known about what I'm talking about, but I'm not actually Moonies myself.
But
I'm not.
I have got a book, authentic book by the Moonies.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's an official book of the Mooney sect,
Yeah.
which I have already got with me.
Yeah.
And I didn't read anywhere any mention of Jesus Christ having returned himself. What they believe, as some other sects also believe,
Right.
that the time of Jesus' return is nigh at hand, very close.
Yeah. So what is they have? Because it's very difficult claiming of any human being say such important things.
Yes.
Because there are 1,000 religions in the world from east to west.
Yes.
They, at the end, their own belief is they're expecting somebody come to resurrect their
Yes.
or somebody like promised Messiah.
Right.
Question is, even in Iran, people which are, you know that how much people are struggling. They're fighting a lot. After revolution, especially with Ayatollah Khomeini came to power, and this is a sort of political issue, very serious matter of life. People over there. Before that, you know that it's about 100 years ago, somebody claimed that is Imam Mahdi, which is perhaps you have heard about them. They call themselves Baha'i. So, in fact, what is my own point of view is there. A few years ago, I heard about Ahmadiyya people in London again. Somebody was passing this leaflet, and I read the leaflet. And the time I was with Moonies, I received this leaflet, and again I was confusing myself. So which is wrong, right, and what is the truth all about?
Right.
I found out that after reading briefly from each section, I found that they all say the same thing. More or less, they are saying.
Well, I'll explain. Yes, I've got the hang of your question, so I'll try to explain things to you in a language which I hope you'll understand.
Yes.
You know, the claimants in the field are so many, as you have already mentioned some. I know there are so many others as well if you look back at the history of Christianity alone, you'll find there would be hundreds of such people who appeared at various stages and who either claimed a representation of Jesus Christ, not he himself, but a sort of representation, or a harbinger of Jesus' appearance. He is about to appear, that sort of claim was made. And no such thing has so far happened. Similarly, such claimants are found in other religions as well. And even today, there are so many people who call to their own sect or religion in the name of rishis or representation of Krishna or representation of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, or representation of God himself like Baha'u'llah claimed, and representation of Mahdaviyyat with some changes, some introductions and some deductions from Islam and so on. So all this is so confusing for an ordinary person who just wants the truth, not greater confusion in the name of God. So that is your dilemma which is bothering you. So this issue can be judged in the simplest way. Number one, by approaching direct to God. If there is a living God who takes interest in the human affairs, if it is He indeed who wants human beings to be led to Himself, then of course He is the first person who should come to your mind to make inquiries. And if He is not interested, if He doesn't answer you, then the second issue will evolve, whether He is there or not. You're knocking at somebody's door and He is not responding at all. In all sincerity you do it, and you don't see any sign. What would be the inference you will draw? Either that person is not at home at all. He's gone temporarily somewhere. Maybe he returns. Or he is dead perhaps. Or he is deaf and dumb. Or he keeps quiet because he is not interested in your noise. You are an intruder into his house without his so desiring. He doesn't like people to knock at his door, and so on and so forth. But he's kind enough not to reject you outright, so he keeps quiet. And so many things like these and many others would come to your mind, but you will not be satisfied with these questions which may arise in your mind. The only way of satisfaction will be to find a clue, positive clue as to what had happened inside. If there is no answer, then you have to find out. So this would be the situation in case you don't hear from God. So my personal belief and my personal experience is that if you are honestly interested, if you are sincere in your search for God, if you do want to reach out to Him, then it is Allah Himself who would reach out to you. He would look after you, take care of you. This is my personal belief, my conviction. But not only that, this is exactly the teachings of the Holy Quran, where Allah claims that Allazina jahadu fina lanahdiyannahum subulana. Those who want to find us, who make an endeavor, not only desire but make an endeavor, make an effort to reach us. Of course they can't by themselves. لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبَلَنَا. It is we who lead them ultimately to ourselves. So it is so clear now. This is the voice of my nature as well as this is the answer of the Holy Quran. So my first advice to you would be to directly start praying for yourself and asking God to lead you out of this confusion. So many claimants to truth, and each one of them in essence claims that Allah is on his side, as if he is a door to God. He is a road to God. This is exactly the word of these are exactly the words of Jesus Christ. I am the way. You know? So every prophet has either claimed this or he has been spoken of in these terms, that unless you approach God through him, you will not reach God. But now, not to mention those old prophets, there is a proliferation of the whole process in every religion. In Islam, there are different sects. They tell you that God is through their door and every other door is close to him. So to avoid all this confusion, as I have just said, the simple straightforward answer would be to reach out for God directly and to begin to pray to him. Another possible way through academic search would be to first of all determine what would be the right approach in academically sorting out the issue. Because if you just get drawn into this debate without first very clearly laying down certain principles for yourself, then it will be not possible for you even to settle the debate between two sects or two religions before your call has come from God, you know, that is within your lifespan.
Excuse me, interrupting you.
Yes.
What happened is I didn't have enough knowledge of the Ahmadiyya movement. I was referring to my knowledge to the Muni's principle. And I was keep asking Saf anytime I had chance, keep asking the question about, do you believe in such a thing? Which I found that is very similar. The principle is very similar.
Yes, the principles of the Muni's principles are quite enlightened as compared to the rest of the Christian sects. That having read that book and having met some Munis, I have come to the same conclusion, that they are enlightened. But just enlightenment would not be enough if you want a solid proof of truth. There has to be some reality somewhere which you can reach out, some tangible thing. So I'm talking of that issue now. The principles, generally speaking, as I have compared the Muni principles with others, are quite enlightened. They are much more tolerant, in fact. Their view of the world, their philosophy of life is closer to that of Islam. If you compare that with the rest of the Christian sects, I agree there. But as I have just already said, if you begin to find out truth by studying all the religions of the world and finding out which one is more enlightened and which one is less enlightened, this is a task much greater than you can bear perhaps, and much, much longer in duration than your lifespan or the lifespan of so many other people who may follow you. So this is the dilemma. It is just a game of chance. You may come across in this wide search upon the right religion and you may miss it altogether by a large pole. Maybe you have not even started investigation into some religion which is right in the eyes of God. So this is a very difficult game. This is why I said, first of all, you chart out certain principles for yourself.
Right. Excuse me, there are some regulations in each section of religions different. Like example is like Buddhist people, for instance, they believe that they shouldn't eat meat, and it is haram in their own.
No, I am not talking of general. These detailed principles, detailed teachings. I am not talking of that.
Yeah.
What I am talking of is the fundamental issue involved. If a man like you or like somebody else really wants to search the truth to reach out to God, that is the ultimate of every religion, of course, then how should he go about it? That is the issue which I am addressing at the present. And part of it I have already explained, that to my opinion the only possible sane solution would be to pray to God himself. Because if there is a God, it is meaningless to go to him if he is not interested in you. And if he is, and he is live, and he is powerful, and he is a constant phenomena, that is to say, all the phenomena we observe is a direct expression of his live interest. In that case, you should pray to him and seek guidance from him himself. That was the first part of my treatment of this issue. You follow?
Would you advise me to pray, on my own point of view, to approach to God?
Huh?
How would you advise me to pray? How could I pray to God?
Yes, I'll explain that. When you pray to God, the most important thing for you is, first of all, to put yourself to a very strong censure by yourself. Criticize your own self with an introspective study of what you really want. Now, if you first of all withdraw into your own being and find out whether you are really interested in reaching out to God or not. If you are you able to pay the price? If a price is involved somewhere at some stage. Because if you really want God, and the God of your imagination is not the God of reality, then you will have first of all to sacrifice your own views, your own concepts, for the sake of a God which is found elsewhere. For instance, if it is a Hindu who is praying, his concept of Krishna and other gods is so different from the concept of Islamic God that the first sacrifice he will have to offer ultimately would be to abandon all the previous views about God and change entirely, enter a new transformed opinion of God. And then suddenly hostility which he will begin to face all around him, the way of life, everything will have to be sacrificed to a completely new birth, new environment, new situations, new attitude to life, new restrictions on oneself. So this is not just a simple answer. I'm seeking and I have got God where he is. If God is found ultimately, he is found at some very heavy price, at the price of all these things and many more which one experiences after one gets to God. So before praying, you should be ready to sacrifice everything. Otherwise your prayer will not be meaningful. If you want to stick to the concept of God which has been inherited by you, or which you have acquired at some later stage of your life, and if you don't want to leave that concept and still ask God, I want you to lead me to yourself, that prayer will be false. It will be hollow and meaningless. So the most important thing for a true prayer in search of God would be to first make a solid determination and vow within yourself that when I am praying, then I am ready to follow him wherever he leads me, and I won't care a fig for whatever happens then. I'll accept the message given to me. I will not dilly-dally after I have received the message from him. So if you are determined to that extent, the first prerequisite for the acceptance of prayer is fulfilled. The second would be to address God without any preconditions attached upon him. Don't address him like some Christians address through Jesus Christ, because you don't know whether he is in the shape of Jesus Christ or some other shape. So divide your concept of God of every other human condition, that is to say, which human beings attribute to him. Just pray to him as one being, that's all, as one existence, as responsible for creation. So reduce his concept to the minimum fundamentals and then address him. Say, if you had a son, let me know. If it is vital for my deliverance from the shackles of life, of this worldly life, then let me know of this. I don't know anything. I have not witnessed anything. I am ready to follow you wherever you lead me. If you are the God who got himself revealed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, then lead me to yourself. If you are the God who is represented today by some Muslim sect, then lead me to that sect and through him to you, or directly to you and then you lead me to that sect, whatever you please. So don't lay any preconditions in that prayer. Just like a simple, honest child, you speak out to your mind to him in the plainest possible words, but try to be sincere, try to be honest, and try to be pathetic in a way. Pathetic in the sense that you tell him your plight is very sorry. Without his guidance, without his light, you will be in total darkness, probing for something which you can't reach. So it's highly essential that Allah may lead you. So if you pray in this style and this manner and continue to do so, I assure you that Allah would lead you, because it is very clear promise made by him in the Holy Quran, and I believe in it. I have experienced this. I have known people who have gone through the same process and were led ultimately by God to himself.
Excuse me, about that, any individual should pray himself and ask God to direct him towards himself. You know that is about 14th century Islam came about, and the other religion more than that. And there are a lot of Muslim people living in this world, a lot of Christians living in this world. I believe more than half of them are so sincere to God, and they do practice more than me. And they
Who told you this?
Because
the way of life of all the people on earth does not smack of sincerity at all, does not have any flavor of sincerity at all, because with sincerity to God, your treatment of human beings, your own way of life must change. Where is peace? Tell me one country, show me one country following any religion where you find true peace established, where man is at one with his Creator and also sincere to his fellow beings and wishes well of others. Every country is now full of crime, and this is on the increase. With the passage of time, the moral situation of mankind is deteriorating in every department of the field, in every region, in every denomination, everywhere. The moral standard is going downhill. And in the political life, it is going down the gutter. In fact, you can't trust any world government as far as their morals are concerned. Every country has turned selfish, every community has become selfish, every household has become selfish, and every individual, not every in the sense of every, I mean the majority among them, has become selfish. The crime is being added upon crime. New ways of crime are being invented. in this country, which is a very peaceful country as compared to many countries of the world, and looking from outside, from some distance, it looks like a heaven on earth. People seek shelter here more often than seek shelter anywhere else. And this country takes pride in giving shelter to others who stand in real trouble and need. Yet, one crime alone, for instance, the sexual excesses committed against children is now so abundant in this country that a recent police report says that the conservative estimate is that 10% of the people living in this country are involved in this crime. One chief of the section, which was a newly created section to go into it, he gave an interview and he said that when we started investigating into these things, we had absolutely no idea what was happening behind these peaceful curtains in the streets of London and streets of Sheffield and other places. So when we started investigating, then we were horrified. We were overwhelmed by not only the incidence of crime, but the extent of crime, the nature of crime. He said, I can say it with full assurance and confidence that in every city of England, at least 1/10 of each town, each house in every street is an arena for such crimes. And you don't know how many children are suffering in every street of London or other towns of the country each night. So he prepared a list and he showed a list of some small area, and the number was absolutely, enormous. One couldn't believe one's ears that this could happen. And that is not all. That is just one small direction. The crime of drug addiction and those who are behind it, and the rate of its spread, and the crimes evolving from this crime. All this, does it convey the message to you that every person who believes in any religion is sincere and he really loves God and he wants to reach Him and he prays in all sincerity?
No, it's because of...
In fact, I have been giving sermons for the last some weeks telling Jamaat Ahmadiyya that you should be very wary about your prayers to God, because most often you live under the misconception that you are praying, while in reality there is very little substance in your prayers. Most of the time is wasted. You are involved in other things. So, but again, the prayer which I am advising you is not at all the prayer which they beg of Allah if they say prayers at all anywhere in the world. Sincerely or not sincerely, that's not the question. This prayer is very seldom asked. How many are there among Christians who would one day start praying to Allah that if you write us to yourself, even if we have to abandon Christianity, we will do that. They will never think of such a thing. So is the case with Hindus. They don't pray to such a being as I have just mentioned. But those who do, they mostly pray to him for their personal needs. And this is how the majority of the prayers are addressed to God. Everybody is concerned with these small affairs and needs and problems before when he goes to God. If he goes, it is under compulsion of such necessities. Out of love of God, there are people, of course, in every religion, but very few who go to him out of his love. And if you go to him with that purpose, with that motive force as well, then I assure you that you will not be wasted. But the issue which is being discussed now is just is a different issue of issue of an inquiring mind, issue of a person who is in search of something. For that, my answer is still valid. I mean, I can't conceive of any other answer to this question. If you can, you better suggest to me.
Yeah, actually, I'm convinced in that point, quite
Yes.
clear.
Yes.
Thing is about believing in promised Messiah when comes on earth in different religions.
Well, I'll come to that too now.
Yeah.
First of all, let's decide the issue of the foundation of religion, that is God.
Yeah, which is Tawheed.
Yes, quite right.
Knowing the-
Now about the promised Messiah, I tell you one simple way of finding out the truth, not by claims of the Messiahhood, but judging by the teachings of that so-called Messiah and the phenomenon of Messiahhood as is revealed according to him, as unveiled according to him. If you judge his truth or his claims by these standards, then it will be a more certain and positive way for you to reach the truth. When I illustrate this further, then you will understand. Now let's consider a few claimants in the field. They say they are the promised Messiah, the one who was to come. A, B, C, D, including Baha'u'llah, if you want to include him in the same list. Now, the claims are made, and you have not yet determined how the promised Messiah was to come. So you have to go back to the source and find out the original prophecy about the reincarnation or reappearance or descent, or a new representation of Jesus Christ, whatever was prophesied in the in the New Testament. Without starting from there, you can't gain the right bearing and direction. So leave these claimants for a while, fighting between themselves for acceptance, and let's return back to Jesus Christ himself and find out how he believes he would come. Now, the Christians believe that he would come in glory from heaven, and they do not attribute meanings other than this. So they are out of field altogether immediately, because whoever claims he has to come in that glory from heaven, and I have not seen yet anybody having descended from heaven in that glory. Have you?
Sorry?
Have you observed any claimant who appears to be fit according to this criterion?
Not in...
No, none. The coming of Christ according to the New Testament should be from literal heaven, in among beautiful clouds, with great glory, so that when the glory of Christ, when he reappears, shines upon the world will not be left with an option of denying him again. This is the concept of Christ's recoming according to the Bible. Is that not correct?
That's right, in
That's
accordance
right.
with Christianity.
So all the claimants disappear totally from the field as false claimants, because they refer their recoming to the same New Testament which speaks of a completely different Christ. So they saw off the branch on which they are sitting. This is an Urdu saying which I have translated into English. You shouldn't saw off or sever the branch on which you are sitting. So they sat on the branch of New Testament, refer to the prophecies made in the New Testament, and made a claim that they are the Christ, they are themselves are the same Christ as was prophesied in the New Testament. Yet when you go to the original prophecy, you read a completely different version of the Christ to come. And none of these claimants fulfills that version. So they are out of contest completely. So you find out from each claimant, how can you justify your coming when, as we read the New Testament, where first the recoming of Christ is mentioned, we don't find any mention of you coming like that. So it's up to the claimant to prove his point from the sources, not by just making a loud claim.
Yes.
Now, when you turn to the promised Messiah in whom we believe, then his version has to be studied first. He disagrees with that explanation of the Bible completely. He puts forward a new claim, basing again on the New Testament, of course, but a study of New Testament in a different light altogether. And then he establishes his ground for the second coming. According to his claim, the Old New Testament has been totally misunderstood by the Christians themselves, not even misunderstood, but interpolated, changed. And the very first act of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ has been totally misrepresented. So is misrepresented his reincarnation and recoming and all that. So when you have to investigate into the claim of a claimant, you have to investigate the basis on which he stands. And the basis in that case would always be, to begin with, the New Testament, where the second coming is mentioned. The Christians fall out of the contest, as I have just mentioned, because it is against their claim is against their own beliefs. But the founder of the Ahmadiyya community has a completely different case to plead. First of all, he creates a foundation of the coming of the new Christ differently from the foundation so far understood by other people. He refers to the Old Testament, it denies the death of Jesus Christ upon cross. He denies his bodily ascent to heaven. Now these two claims are very, very important and fundamental claims. If you deny the death of Jesus Christ upon cross, if you deny his bodily ascent to heaven, what is left of Jesus Christ? Only a simple prophet, no God, no Son of God at all. He has to be seen in a completely new light from then on. If somebody proves these 2 points, then the whole personality of Jesus Christ changes, and the whole issue of his prophecies is also to be seen in this new light. This is exactly what has been done by the promised Messiah. He says, as I prove this point from the Bible itself, that Jesus Christ was, although crucified, was not permitted by God to die upon cross. He was taken down alive. Secondly, he migrated to the lost tribes of Israel and completed his mission among his lost people, as was expected of him. In fulfillment of his own prophecy as well as the prophecies earlier, he had to complete this mission, which he did. Not only spoke to the 2 tribes which were present in Judea, but he also spoke to the other tribes which had left that region much earlier. So he was a human being, he never ascended to heaven. He died an ordinary natural death of every other prophet. If that claim is supported by evidence, then his further claims would also be worthy of investigation. So the matter will start from here, not from just claim. And once they are established, he remains the only person worthy of investigation in the entire field. You see?
Yeah.
Because
Excuse me, I appreciate the explanation because I'm just about to finish the Jesus in India, that book.
Yes.
But the thing is, the purpose of the Jesus Christ wasn't failed in according to Ahmadi. Wasn't failed because failed because Jesus Christ was a Holy Spirit, Ruh al-Qudus, and he was supposed to produce sinless children on earth. And
this is what this claim of the Christians is proved to be wrong.
And in according to the Christian belief,
according to the Christian, this was his claim.
Was crucified. So Jewish people who expecting a Messiah come, they misunderstood about that.
Excuse me, what I mean to say is, in the first two sentences you spoke here, demolish the building of Christianity altogether to my eyes. Because if the purpose of Jesus Christ's first coming, was to produce sinless children, show me one sinless child.
I don't know, all children are sinless in fact.
No, any change in the nature of children,
yes,
from times prior to Jesus Christ and after Jesus Christ.
To produce families sinless in according to
what I mean to say is, show me one family who is sinless in a manner as never before Jesus Christ such a family appeared. Show me one.
I don't know, I never met.
You have never seen, so the purpose is defeated anyway.
No, you see, the thing is, the idea was sending God through the history. Reading the history is important. In Quran, most of the surahs is...
you have, diverted from the main issue.
That's right.
Let me finish the answer to your first question. I believe you are meaningful. You want to reach the truth. So let me finish this. What I claim is, if contrary to the claims of Christians themselves, if in contradiction to what they believe in Bible, the Ahmadiyya belief is proved to be correct. This is the big if which I have put in the beginning. So let's not start the debate about the validity of Ahmadiyya claim. But in principle you will have to agree that if that claim is correct, that from Bible we can prove that Jesus Christ did not die upon cross, and from Bible we can prove that Jesus Christ did not ascend to heaven bodily, and from Bible we can prove that the Jesus Christ seen alive after crucifixion was not in spirit, not a ghost of Jesus Christ, but the same body of Jesus Christ, which was a carnal body of belonging to this earth, which was being observed and seen and touched and spoken to by his followers, disciples. And if we can prove that he was injured very grievously, he was in a state of coma, he got revived from that, and then after being healed of his wounds, migrated to a different part of the world. If we can prove that, then the only corollary you can draw from this, the only inference you can draw from this, that if Jesus Christ promised to come again, descending from heaven or whatever he may be, he was only talking in metaphors, not literally speaking. And he would come only among those people who have the right version of Bible, not the wrong version of Bible, who understand his words correctly, who understand what happened to him correctly.
I appreciate
because that is the truth.
I appreciate that because 600 years after Jesus Christ, Christianity went so wrong. That was the reason Islam came about.
Yes.
To again to
Exactly.
direct mankind to
Right.
God, because God always wanted to direct man to himself. So Islam came, and again is mentioned about Jesus Christ was not crucified in Surah Maryam, I think is a ayah talking about that Jesus Christ was not crucified, but is not clearly talking anymore about it. The question is, if Jesus Christ wasn't crucified, and in according to first claim that Jesus Christ was alive and living as another human being peacefully, and had some children, and he married, so why he did not carry on his mission, which was direct mankind to the truth? And why 600 years after that?
No, why didn't he carry, what was the mission?
The mission was all of mission, and your mission is, as the other people's mission is, to tell the other people the truth.
So Jesus did tell the truth. He completed his mission. What we believe in is this, that Jesus Christ's mission was no different from the mission of every other prophet, except in one regard. If you understand the phenomena of Messiahhood, why he was sent in the first instance to the Jews, and what was the things, the tasks which he was to perform, then your questions will be answered. But if you base your notions on some myths which are being fed to you through a distorted Christianity, then you will never be able to reach the truth. But you agree that Christianity must have got started before the end of 600, because then Allah sent a new religion and a new prophet that also expressed or showed through light on the nature of Christianity. Had it not become rotten and rejectable, Allah would not have sent a new prophet and started a new phenomenon. That you agree with,
That's
don't
true.
you?
Yeah.
So when the Christianity is corrupt, it is not corrupt only in the sense that people belonging to Christianity had become immoral. It became corrupt in views and ideologies as well. Because had it not been so, Allah should not have revealed a new religion to replace Christianity. That showed Christianity had become corrupt in its views and dogmas as well. So now you are searching for the task of Jesus Christ in view of what that corrupt Christianity offers you to believe. That will not be the right way. The right way would be to first understand why the prophets come as such. Whatever is the task of a prophet of Allah, a messenger of God, and whether Jesus Christ was delivering that message on the correct lines established by prophets prior to him or not. If you look at Jesus Christ in this light, he has performed his task. He was not a failure at all. He was one of the biggest successes. And again, if you first find out what Messiahhood should be according to the Old Testament, because when you talk of Messiahhood, you have to go back to the Old Testament. When you speak of Jesus Christ's reincarnation, you have to go to Jesus Christ himself, that is to the source. But the concept of Messiahhood did not start with Jesus. Jesus was an answer to that concept, a full fulfillment of that concept. So to understand that concept, you should not understand it in the light of what Christians of today say. It should be understood in the light of the Old Testament, where it was first mentioned and described. So Messiah, according to the Old Testament, is a prophet, not a son of God. Nowhere is he mentioned as son of God. He is a prophet of a very high order who is going to revive Jews. who is going to put them back in their in their glory, and who is going to give them a new, let's say, kingdom. These are the words of the Old Testament. So far, so good. Now, each prophet gives you something, but Messiah is different from each other prophet in the sense that when the entire Jews are deprived of their kingdom and their prowess and whatever they had, he is going to rehabilitate them without a new message. This is to be understood. And he has to not only to rehabilitate them, but to rehabilitate them in the highest honor, to rehabilitate them with a new kingdom. When Jesus Christ came, he agreed to this concept of Messiah. He did not differ. This is the most important thing. So later on explanation of what Messiah was to perform is just irrelevant. The first most important relevance is to that of the Bible, Old Testament, where the mention of Messiahhood is first made. Second most important thing is that when that concept of Messiahhood was presented to Jesus Christ, did he agree with that or did he not? If he agreed with that, then Christians who followed him later on have no right to differ with that concept. And the debate would be clinched there and then. So now I refer you to the New Testament where this issue is mentioned. The Jews demanded from him a denial or acceptance of this claim of the Bible that Messiah was to come in glory and to rehabilitate the Jews into the kingdom. While he himself wear a crown, he would be a sovereign. Jesus Christ did not deny that at all. He differed with the meanings attributed to this passage. He said, you think, to the effect, that you think that this was to be a literal kingdom of God, little kingdom, that is to say the kingdom in the way we believe in the world, kingdom of the world.
Yes, sir.
And you believe in the crown as worn by kings.
As a physical king.
But it is metaphorical. It is a religious term. I have come to rehabilitate you in the kingdom of God. I have got with a crown on my head, but that crown is not the worldly crown of the worldly kingdoms. It is the crown of Allah's glory. Did he not explain that in that way? So the issue of Messiahhood is solved for once and for all. Why to attribute new meanings to Messiahhood? If Jesus Christ believed that Messiah was also to be Son of God, he should have mentioned it there.
Excuse me, so Jesus Christ is supposed to be Messiah for Jewish people because Jewish people were very much restricted. I've studied the Old Testament. It's very similar to Quran.
Yes.
Ahkam in Revelation.
Exactly.
And more complicated sometimes.
Right.
And Jesus Christ was telling to Jewish people, Messiah to reveal things for Jewish people.
Yes, yes.
And Jewish people, because of the, again, same as Muslim people in this
That's
world
right.
at the moment, they had opposition. They expecting Jesus Christ be a clergyman because like Elijah must be his father
Yes.
must be a
Yes.
clergyman rather than like Jesus Christ. So they did not accept him because they had the issue and the factors of what is his name of that, what is his...
No, why they rejected Jesus Christ, if you want to find an answer, there is a very simple explanation for that. The Jews of the time had become literal and they ceased to read the meanings of God's words, the true meanings, underlying meanings. They became literal in everything. when they read the mention of a crown, they meant the crowns worn by sovereigns, the worldly sovereigns. When they read the words of kingdom, they meant by kingdom the profane kingdoms of the earthly people. So they had become literal. And when they read of Elijah's reappearance before Christ's coming, they took that also literally. That somebody had ascended to heaven bodily and would descend from heaven bodily again. Yeah. So their fault was taking the word at its face value, the word of God at its face value, and not trying to delve deeper into the meaning. Jesus put them right in everything. And where Jesus puts them right, there we agree. But where St. Paul puts Jesus right, we don't agree with St. Paul. He has no right to put Jesus Christ right. Jesus had a right to put others, into right. So let's remain limited to what Jesus said. Jesus disagreed with the explanation of Messiahhood as presented by the Jews and put forward exactly the same explanation as Ahmadis believe in. The same is the issue involved between us and the other Muslim sects. Hazrat Masih Maud, the founder of the Ahmadiyya community, in answer to those demands as made upon him by the Maulvis of his time, answered in exactly the same terms. He says, मुझको क्या ताजों से मेरा ताज है, मुझको क्या मुल्कों से मेरा मुल्क है सबसे जुदा, मुझको क्या ताजों से मेरा ताज है रिजवान यार. You are demanding a worldly kingdom, talking in these terms. What have I to do with them? You are talking of crowns. My crown is the pleasure of my Lord God. So he also came to rehabilitate the Muslims into their old glory and into the kingdom of heaven. And they again misunderstood him like the earlier Jews had misunderstood the first Messiah. The earlier Jews demanded from Jesus Christ to show where Elijah had reappeared from heaven and descended bodily. They made this demand, literal demand, which could not be fulfilled, of course. In the same way, in the like manner, the Muslims of the time of Hazrat Masih Maud, the founder of the community, demanded for him a bodily descent of him himself from heaven. So the wrongs committed are exactly the same. The rectifications to the demands is exactly the same. Can't you see any similarity between the first unfolding of the phenomena of Messiahhood with the second unfolding of the same phenomena? It is so obvious. They follow exactly the same path, the same treatment is meted out to them, the same hostilities, the same passive approach to strong aggression, and the same patience and perseverance, and the same slow but steady and sure spread of their message, so that gradually one man becomes spread all over the world. And the same wisdom and logic in the message. No unnatural things are claimed. No phenomenon different from the previous phenomenon of religion is mentioned at all. When Jesus Christ came in the first place, he could be put on the same touchstone as earlier prophets had been put. And the same such stones would suffice to prove his credibility and his authenticity. Likewise, the promised Messiah addressed the world by inviting their attention to the same criterions, not new ones. He said, judge me as you judged earlier prophets. Judge me according to the standards laid down by the Holy Quran. Judge me according to the standards laid down by the New Testament and the Old Testament and the life history of all of the prophets. One thing you will observe is in common. with the whole history of religion is that although there are expectations of people descending from heaven everywhere in the world, no such thing has ever happened anywhere in the world. Neither among Shiites, nor among the other Muslims who believe that Messiah would return from heaven bodily, nor it got fulfilled in the case of Elijah, nor it got fulfilled in the case of Krishna or other such imaginary incarnations of God. So you see the mention of such phenomenon everywhere in the world. But not once in the religious history you will ever come across a literal fulfillment of this. So Ahmadiyyat should be judged according to the unfolded history of the past religion, not by new standards. And it is only Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ, the founder of the Ahmadiyya community, who addresses the world in the same language as other prophets before him addressed the world of their times, asking them to apply his truth or falsehood to the same touchstones of reason, logic, and the earlier prophecies. So this is how you should go about investigating Ahmadiyyat. And when you put other claimants to the same standards, then you will understand the difference between the two claims and the two claimants.
Right. Thank you very much.
Right. Any other question? No?
Well, there are a few other questions, perhaps it's better not to mention.
Ask me, maybe, then we'll